Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Young. Shalom, shalom. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Young. Shalom, shalom. Hey, shalom, brothers. Slacky again. Uh, they gonna computer rebooted on me, so I pray I'm able to do the sit down. But with that being said, I want to give all praises to my heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Yeshim, Yahweh Shah by Yeshim, Wakai Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders that rule well, and peace and many salutations to you brothers out there that's told me in this truth. Um, Now, if you've been paying attention, um, the Strait of Homuz was closed by the Iranians uh, about 5 days ago in response to the war that they're engaged in with Israel, and this has many repercussions, economically speaking, for the global economy, which is called globalization. Um, and the reason why Israel has decided you know um, to bomb Iran is because of the Greater Israel Project. You know, uh, you had the U.S. give a BS reason why, they attacked, Iran. They saying, well, Iran was going to attack first, uh, which that's BS. Iran wasn't going to attack first. Um, in fact, they were in negotiations with America. You know, and so this attack, that happened to you know the Iranians caught them off guard because they were for weeks under our days, as I say, with under negotiation with America in regards to nuclear deals, and things of that nature. You had America that just totally stabbed these guys in the back. It shows you the character of these people, man. That's very cowardice to do something like that. And that shows you who Esau Edom is. This is Isaiah 33:1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So now you have you have so now you have Iran turning it up in all aspects. There's according to several alternative news sites, America and the U.S. is losing the war, man. And economically speaking, they're losing the war. You know, um, you had it to where America is allowing the India to purchase oil from Russia, and I believe other European countries. Google it for yourself. Just correct what just fact check me if I'm incorrect. I of course apologize, but that's from what my research. That's what I gathered. So this war is having an adverse economic effect on America and the U.S. Endeavors. And you could blame this on Israel because ultimately they're doing this for Israel. Israel, lobbyists control basically the Trump cabinet, and again, they're doing this for the Greater Israel Project. Okay, so what is the Greater Israel Project? Well, according to Al Jazeera, we read a little bit of this article. What is the Greater Israel and how popular it is amongst Israelis? It says recent comments by United States and Israeli officials supporting the concept of a Greater Israel has raised alarm bells across the region and shed light on a vision once only rarely publicly spoken about. An interview aired last week by the American right-wing podcaster Tucker Carlson with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee started the current uh, furrow. Uh, Carson, an influential figure who had been vocally critical of Israel over the past year, repeatedly asked Huckabee whether he supported Israel control over the land between the Nile River in Egypt and the Euphrates River, and the Euphrates River in Iraq, which is that's biblical. Okay, what what he asked Huckabee about, which we'll get to. Huckabee, a Christian Zionist, will not disavow the belief that the Bible promised the land to Israel, even though it now encompasses all of or part of Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Syria. It would be fine if they took it off. Huckabee said, leading to anger from those countries and others in the region, many of which are close U.S. allies. Then, speaking on Monday, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid said that he would support anything that would allow the Jews a large, broad, strong land and a safe haven for us. Zionism is based on the Bible. Our mandate over the land of Israel is biblical, and the biblical borders of the land of Israel are clear. Therefore, the borders are the borders of the Bible. The apparently secular Israeli uh, politician said. So, what is Greater Israel exactly? And it is really an ultimate goal. And is it really an ultimate goal for the Israeli politicians? Defining Greater Israel, expansionist the most expansionist claim for a greater Israel is based on a biblical verse, Genesis 15:18 to 21, which narrates the Most High making a covenant with Abraham that promised his descendants the land between the Nile and Euphrates. Okay, so boom, I want to stop right there. Let's look this up. Let's look this up. Okay, and give you a map of what's being said. It says now this says this in Genesis 15, verse 8. And it just get right straight to it. It says on the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed I will give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. You see this? This is Euphrates down here. This is where Israel is at currently. This is basically the land that that Israel would rule. In the kingdom of heaven. Okay. Exodus 23:31. I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. Let's see here. This wish it God's in my way. Deuteronomy 11:24. Wish I could hide. Let's see if I can hide this. Every place wherein the sole of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness in Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the hinder sea shall your border be. Right? So it's talking about this area here. This is the area promised unto the true nation of Israel, which consists of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans. Okay, not to those, not to the guys with the small hat. Those aren't the real Israelites. We are the real Israelites. Those are imposters. Those are Edomites over there, and we know that they're Edomites because how they're ruling. They're ruling with the sword, which was promised unto them. Okay, they're ruling exactly how they were promised by Isaac to rule. Saying with that sword. Let's go to Genesis, the 22nd chapter. Just so I could, show you guys. uh Genesis 27, uh verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, this is him speaking to Esau. Thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. By thy sword shall thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. You know, and this happened there in the Renaissance period. We had, Esau under subjection, and he was able to uh, break the yoke off of his neck, and basically, you know, uh, culturally rebuild the Roman Empire. You know what I'm saying? And that Roman way, which go back to the Greeks, right, which are also Edomites, has been dwelling on the face of the earth. In fact, America is an extension of that rulership. Okay, all right, but he's prophesied to rule with that sword, and this is what we see going on now. Esau, Edom, is ruling with that sword, right? The only way that the nation of Israel is supposed to get back into the land is by Yahweh Shai returning and establishing the throne of David, not by anything we could do physically. Okay, you know, but it's all about um, you know the will, prophecy, the will of the Heavenly Father. Okay, not about us, forging a dang on a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Hosea 1:7, but I will have mercy upon the house of Jacob, and I will save them by Yahweh, their power, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Right? So the Most High is not going to save with battle. Okay? You will save him with his people with the glory of Yahweh, man. Him coming back and basically establishing, the the throne of David. Okay, so before I get ahead of myself, I wanted to show you guys this right here. I believe I showed you this right here. Okay, cool. Boom. This is the promised land that we've been looking at. We've been reading about. Okay. Now, if you notice this area right here, hopefully you can see my mouse. If you keep on going to this area right here, this is straight to Homuz right here. Not necessarily right here, but if we keep on going more right, which is not, you're not able to see it. That's the Strait of Homuz. Okay, show you. See this? Let me show you guys, man. Let me show you. All right, boom. See this? This is straight. This is a Strait of Homuz. All right. All right, let's keep on going at this area right here is to be controlled by who? By the nation of Israel. And so, with us having control of this in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to have control of the Strait of Hormuz. Right here in the Strait of Hormuz, this is very important because this is where I want to say 20% of the world's oil, is basically commerced, for lack of a better term, bought and sell in this region. Okay, and other oil products. So this area is very pinnacle on the world's economy. All right, and recently it was shut down again by Iran. Okay, So this is going to have many repercussions, you know, um, economically speaking. Okay. Definition. Definition. All right. Let's read this up. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow, strategically vital waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman in the open ocean. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow maritime passage situated between Iran to the north and the Masandam Peninsula of Oman and the United Arab Emirates of the South. It serves as the only sea route from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, making it one of the world's most important choke points for global oil and liquefied natural gas transport. As it narrowest at its narrowest point, the strait is approximately 20 to 31 nautical miles wide, with designated shipping lanes for inbound and outbound vessels separated by buffer zones. The strait is about 167 kilometers, 104 miles long, and its degree and its depth ranges for 60 to 100 meters, allowing it to accommodate the world's largest oil tankers. Roughly 20% of the world's LNG and 25% of seaborne oil trade passes through the strait annually, with the majority of exports designated for Asian markets. See that, such as China, India, and Japan. Iran controls the northern coast and several strategic islands in Kushan, Homuz, and Lakar, and Larak, while Oman controls the southern coast via the Masandam Peninsula. The United Arab Emirates lies nearby, providing additional ports and maritime access. Due to its geopolitical, and economic significance, the Strait of Hormuz has been a focal point for international security and vessel forces for multiple countries, including the U.S. Fifth Fleet, ensuring safe passage through the straits. Any disruption in the strait could have major consequences for global energy markets, as alternative routes for oil and LNG exports are limited. And this is precisely what we see going on, right? So in this area right here, what we're talking about, the Straits of Hormuz, which is right by, the promised land of Israel, which this is what Esau is trying to capture with war. This area, with it being shut down, is having major repercussions, economically speaking, man. Okay. Having major it's giving major problems, economically speaking. Okay. Matter of fact, instead of me reading it, I have a video queued up for you here. I'm gonna let play. And this guy here, Professor J, has been on fire lately. Been on fire, okay? And I want to let you guys hear this for yourselves, and we'll get what we need out of it, and then we'll jump around if we can, get a couple of scriptures, okay?
Even if you don't really know the war, if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay? Really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Homuz, all right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot.
See how it says it's the center of the world? Now, remember something, man. Remember this. And I wish I didn't close out of it, but I did. Remember this, brothers. Check this out. This is, the land promising to us. If you go down here, right, which is the Persian, I want to say it's Persian Sea. I gotta get this better for you guys, man. I gotta let y'all see this. Right? Lord willing to come through. Let's go with map. Yeah. I'm gonna let y'all see this one more time. This so y'all can understand, man. Check this out. What's being said. All right. Because I'm trying to show you something, through the spirit. This is this Persian Gulf. Now remember, we just established something. Israel, well, this Israeli, this small head is the Edomites that's in our land right now. They're trying to take over this region here. According to the prophecy of Genesis 15, verse 8, they want to take this region over. See that? See the Persian Gulf is right here. So he just said something. This is basically the center of the world. This is the land that we're gonna be possessing, brothers. Right? That's gonna be considered Israel. This is the land that we're gonna be possessing. And with this control, we'll have the Straits of Homuz on the wraps. All these we'll have it on the wraps, man. That's why it says that in Revelations that the land, the gates are going to be continuously open for the nation of Israel. Trade is going to be just booming. Okay, it'll be booming. We're going to control of all these, these ports and things of that nature. All right. So he said something very important there. This is what these small heads are trying to get a hold of by basically setting up a puppet in Iran. All right. But it's not going so well.
Of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%.
So Japan depends on 75% of its oil from this area, the Straits of Homuz. China, 40%, bro. India is a substantial amount. So with this being closed, this has some very serious repercussions economically speaking, brothers. Okay? All right?
Prime Minister Takaichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. All right? So that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, And what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire.
He's saying GCC. He's talking about those Gulf Coast countries. That's situated on the Strait of Homuz. You know what I'm saying? We've been hearing about these countries getting bombed as recently. The UAE. We've been hearing about Qatar, Kuwait. These areas have been getting bombed. And Saudi Arabia, got bombed. These regions here, they basically, are where these ports are located, to where they're exporting various gas products or oil products, I should say, not gas but oil products. All right. So this is a very vital area to basically um, the world economy. You dig? All right. So when you hear him say GCC, this is what he's alluding to. These particular countries here. All right.
Empire is the petrodollar. All right. The idea of the petrodollar is this: the US dollar is worth nothing across the Strait of Homuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right. So people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right. The idea of the petrodollar is this.
Now he just said something very important. That area is, the bread and butter of the petrodollar. What is the petrodollar? The petrodollar is basically the reserve currency when it comes to these various countries, because they buy and sell in oil. They buy and sell oil in the American dollar. So the American dollar has no value per se, but the value of it is the contract of buying and selling oil with the American dollar. Okay. And that makes the American dollar very strong because of this artificial need. But real soon, what we're going to see is a de-dollarization or deflation. Let's see here. Let's see if I'm saying this correctly. Deflation. We're defining definition. All right. Deflation. The action of the action or process of deflating or becoming deflated. Reduction of the general level of prices in an economy. The removal of particular rocks by wind. Let's go with economics. There you go. That's what it is. So that certain jargon used for certain things. Deflation is a sustained decrease in the general price level of goods and services, resulting in an increase in the value of money. So this is opposite of what I want. I want inflation. That's why it's always good to check inflation. Let's see here. I don't want to go too deep. Just want a definition. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Which I know what the definition is, but I just want to give it to you guys so you go, do your own research. Inflation is the sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in the economy, reducing the purchasing power of money. Definition and concepts. In economics, inflation occurs when the average price of goods and services rise over time, meaning each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services than before. Right. So what does that mean? Um, that means basically the purchasing power of a particular currency, is not strong, making a good more expensive. Say, for instance, you go into a store and buy some milk. That milk is $1.50. 3 years later, that same gallon of milk is $3.50. Well, what happened? Did it just get more expensive, or did your purchasing power, you know, decrease substantially? This was going to happen to the American dollar, brothers, if the Strait of Homuz, isn't rectified, because all that money that is circulating, you know, um, in these various banks and things of that nature, you know, they use it to buy and sell oil. Okay, so the Strait of Hormuz has to be open for the American dollar to thrive, right? And we know that. Guess what? Inflation is inflation is around the corner for us because it's prophesied. This is prophesied. Okay. Now, this is Ezekiel 7:19. They should cast their silver in the streets, and the gold shall be removed. The silver and the gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of wrath of Yahweh. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fear their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. Right? So, eventually this money is going to be worthless, brothers. You know, could this be the catalyst to that? We just got to sit back and see. But, it's looking like it's going to get bad out here. You know, um, looking like it's going to get bad out here. We'll see. We don't want to overstep our boundaries, but yeah, it's looking like it's about to go there, brothers. With the closing of the Straits of Hormuz. You know, this is why it's so important. You know that we understand what time we living in. You know, get caught up in this rat race, paper chase, and none of it really matters. You just try to keep your head above the water anyway. You know, and the average person, they don't see what's about to occur. It's about to get real serious out here in the near future. With people thinking, oh, I could still, it's more expensive, but I could go and get something to eat, so I'm good. At the end of the day, I'm gonna bounce back. 2026 gonna be my year, and that's not gonna be the case, bro. It's not gonna be the case. Second Ezra 16 and verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Right? And this is growing on the face of the earth. Decision among men here in the U.S. Oh man, everybody's at each other's throat. Famine is occurring. Hey, food uncertainty is increasing. Within these single parent households, women don't know how they're gonna feed their kids. That's on the that's on the up. Even people that have a man in the house, man, it's getting hard out here because of these bills, because of inflation. Great confusion. You don't know what's right, what's wrong. You don't know what source is telling the truth, or are they all part of the game? Right? Everything is a lot of confusion out here, bro. What keeps you grounded is these scriptures. We know it gotta get bad before it gotta go this way. It has to get bad before it gets better. All these things must come to pass because it's written in these scriptures and it's happening right before our eyes. Okay, verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Right? So a lot of people are going to starve to death. Okay. And that's a cold way to die. Right? To see yourself literally, you know, wither away. You see your children wither away. Kids getting starved so much to where you got to put a diaper on a 6-year-old because she don't have the energy to go and use a restroom. So we praying for a covering that day, brothers, because it's going to get real out here, man. It's going to get very serious, man. It's not a game. It's not a game, brother. You know? It says in Amos, oh my God. Lamentations, the 4th chapter. I want to say, let's see here. Yep, around 9. Lamentation 4:9. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger, for pine away, stricken through for want of the fruit of the field. And that's a helpless feeling. Just imagine being a man and you can't find anything, to take care of your children. You can't find any food, any resources to take care of your children. That's why a lot of men in these various countries, third world countries, so called, the man end up leaving to find work. So I can't just stay here and this, I gotta go find work. The woman is led back with the children. Some just straight up abandoned. That's gonna be going on too. Family gonna be broken up because of famine. You know, kids gonna be, left in the street in the street. And we're talking about a very selfish nation catching all types of hell. How you think these people are gonna react, man? Okay, you know, these people gonna react in a sadistic way. Verse 10: the hands of the pitiful woman have sodden their own children. My God, they were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. And look, and these women out here, man, these women out here are some very selfish assholes, man. Hey, just go on social media and just look at these women, man. Terrible human beings. Terrible to be around. Brothers do sit downs on them all the time. What you gonna think? That same woman is perking up her lips, taking taking selfies while her children are neglected or being raised by goddamn me TikTok. How you think they're gonna act when they have to face themselves? Right? They can be doing all types of abomination, beating the hell out of their kids, turning their kids into pot roast, man. If they got if they know how to, you know, uh, cook. A lot of these women, they're gonna be just offering their kids and then themselves or just selling their kids to the nearest bidder, man. It's gonna get wicked out here, brother. It's gonna get very wicked out here, man. That's why understanding, the word of the Lord is so important because you can, man, say it's gonna get real. Verse 11: Yahweh has accomplished his fury. He has poured out his fierce anger and has kindled a fire in Zion, and it hath devoured the foundation thereof. That's right. So this is going to happen again. And all this is going to happen because the inflation of the American dollar. I think the word I'm looking for is devalue, devaluation, devaluation of a. Let me see definition. Devalue. Let's see if I'm correct. Okay. We could go on that, but no, that's not. Inflation would be correct. But devaluation is deliberate reduction of a country's currency value related to foreign currencies, typically used to boost exports and imports. Trade. No, so it's not devaluation. It's inflation. So we'll be dealing with hyperinflation. Okay, because of this. Let's go back to this right here. All right.
So this is a
We let her off around 2 minutes.
number two is okay. So the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right. So people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable when people want it.
You know what he said?
American empire. Because what is the American back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire.
It's the linchpin of the American empire. This area, the Strait of Homuz, is very vital. Going to what we just brought out, how things are bought and sell with the petrodollar, or how oil, is bought and sell with the American dollar. The American dollar is strong because it's able to dictate contracts. That's what makes it so strong. Although it's not backed by anything, right? Only the purchasing of oil, the buying and selling of oil. That's what makes it strong. Okay.
Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable when people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar. So, if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time.
Right.
The problem, though, is the GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Homuz, there's no food coming in, right? They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It doesn't grow by itself, it imports. All right?
So Iran, with them closing this down and also them hitting various bases, in the Strait of Hormuz, or countries with U.S. bases. Let me refine it. Country with U.S. bases in the Strait of Hormuz, they're putting these Arab countries in a compromising situation. Because if Iran starts hitting, these water refinement, facilities, they're gonna be in some serious trouble, man. But the goal is for the Iranians is to get the presence of America out of that region, and this is according to Scott Ritter. Okay, all right, what I just said. All right, which this is prophecy too. The Armenians waking up to go to battle, you know, against, the Assyrians, which the modern day Assyrians, you know, is who? The modern day Assyrians is the U.S. All right. Now let's go to Second Esdras 15, around 29. Where I started 20. Behold, in horrible vision in the appearance thereof from the west, from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. They're getting ready for battle. Also, the Carmenians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of these Assyrians. Which you know, which again we can liken this unto the Assyrians unto um, Babylon the Great, because just like the Assyrians, you know, America has the idea that you know, and basically the world would stop if they stop conquering. Which is the same concept that the Assyrians had. So they were constantly in war, at war. Okay, which eventually led to their destruction, the Assyrians, and this is going to lead to the U.S.'s destruction. Nahum 3:1. Woe to thee, bloody city! It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and the prancing horses, and the jumping chariots. Now, this is um, ancient artillery. You know what I'm saying? The rattling of the wheels, which talking about the chariots, the prancing horse, which the chariots were connected to the horse. You know what I'm saying? Now we can liken this unto what uh, the U.S. defense budget, how much they spend on you know uh, producing warships, uh, uh, you know warplanes, for lack of a better term, uh, tanks. They're spending over 500 billion on a military on the military department. You know, so they had to constantly be at war. You know, for them to make a profit, man, and that's what we see. You know, America, I think, what only had what 40 years, 50, 40, 50, 40 years of not being in war. Let's look it up. How many years has the U.S. not been at war? 15 years, god damn. The U.S. has not been at war for a total of 15 years throughout its history. This means that out of the entire existence of the United States, there has only been 15 years without military conflict. Come on, man. Come on, man. So what we reading here in Nahum, it reigns true. Okay. Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city! It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and the prancing horses, and the jumping chariots. The horseman lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, right? There's those guns and those missiles. And there is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses. and there is none in of their corpse. They stumble upon their corpse because of the multitude of the or the whoredoms of the world favorite harlot, the mistress of witchcraft that sells nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts, right? Through her philosophy. She's Esau, Edom, or the U.S. is able to get away with their atrocities, man. Okay, but we're in a time in which these various um, you know spells aren't going to work anymore, and a huge part of this spell is that petrodollar capitalism is part of the image of the beast. Okay, and the Most High is throwing that down, right? And this catalyst, this could be the closing of the Strait of Homuz. Okay,
so the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right. Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy, all right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay. Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. They're not. It's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right. Number three, and this is most important, is water. Okay. You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants, okay? These factories that take salt water and then through an electrochemical process, turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply that you see comes from desalination plants, okay? 60%. Is it hard to blow up this desalination plant using a drone? The answer is, it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC, it's just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it, okay? So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Okay, but Iran also has a weakness, okay? And this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay?
Right.
So for the
right. So as you can see, this area right here is very vital for the existence of America's, economic hegemon. And with this being closed, this is going to have some serious repercussions. Okay. Let's look this up. What are the effects of the Strait of Hormuz closure on the U.S.? Hey. A closure, this is according to AI, a closure of the Strait of Hormuz will sharply increase U.S. oil and gas prices, disrupt supply chains, and heighten military and economic risks. Let's read. Um, Economic impacts. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical choke point, handling about 20 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 20% of global oil consumption, and a fifth of global LNG shipments, primarily from Gulf producers to Asia. While the U.S. imports a small share, around zero point 0.5 million barrels per day, from the Persian Gulf, or 2% of U.S. petroleum consumption, a closure would still drive up domestic gasoline and energy prices, potentially pushing crude above 100 per barrel. And this is going on now. It's already 100 per barrel. This would increase inflation. You see that? We just talked about this. We just talked about how this will increase inflation. This will increase inflation, raise transportation and manufacturing costs, and strain consumer budgets. Supply chain disruption, shipping disruptions would extend beyond energy. Major carriers have already halted or rerouted vessels, forcing shipments around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks of delay. This threatens the just-in-time supply chain critical to U.S. industries, including automotive, electronics, pharmaceutical, and food, potentially causing production slowdowns and higher consumer prices. Now, this is going on top of what? This is going on top of uh dang on these tariffs that that is already um taking a toll on the American public, man, especially the transportation industry. Okay, so economically speaking, this is going to hurt the American economy. There's truckers that has been holding on, that are owner operators. A lot of this might be the nail in the coffin for a lot of them, man. So the grinding is definitely ceasing here in Babylon, and this is a catalyst to it. This could be a catalyst to it. How about that? I don't want to just overstep. Okay, actually it's 12. All right. Now this is Ecclesiastes 12 and 1. All right. Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong man shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the window be darkened. Right? So the grinding is ceasing. Right? Man are bowing themselves down because guess what? There's no work in Babylon, man. Okay? Yeah, there was this report that came out that says in the first quarter, I think there was like 92,000 losses. That's a lot. And that's just in the first quarter. Okay. This could, heighten that statistic, with the Strait of Hormuz, man. But we shall see. We shall see uh how long this will be. All right, but this is something that's very noteworthy. It seems that Iran is holding up. Iran is trying to, according to different sources, they're trying to eliminate their problem, which their problem is Israel. They're supposed to come on with it. Israel that ran out of missile receptors. You know what I'm saying? Iran basically overloaded their systems with drones, things of that nature. And now they're supposed to come out with their big boy stuff. They've been sending old missiles over there. So Israel has a problem, bro. The U.S. has a problem. All right, and this is a war It's a part of it. War affects the money. You take a fade, military speaking, you take a fade economically speaking, man. Ask Napoleon. Okay? All right. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall raise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Ain't gonna be no more clubbing. Clubbing is already dead, but it's only going to increase. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the street, right? Which, when a grasshopper is a burden, meaning, basically they're eating up the crops, okay? Which that could mess up your harvest, in the ancient world tremendously. All right, well, that's just representing like there's gonna be there's not gonna be a plentiful harvest. Not gonna be a lot of food readily available. As the supply chain is being affected right before our eyes, and most people don't see it. When the supply chain is messed up, getting goods back and forth to a particular place, it costs more money, and it's a trickle down effect. The people end up paying for the increase in costs, like the tariffs. Okay, so this is going to greatly affect people, brothers. The closure of the Strait of Homuz, all right, greatly affect people. Okay, all right. So that's why we have to remember the Most High while we still have time. Okay. All right. So that being said, pray it was edifying for you all. I give all praise to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Shem, Yahweh Shah by Shem Kakadash. Them honors to the apostles and bishops of New York and Connecticut. And salutations, Akyam Toilet. Shalom.